2020 electronic meeting of the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission. This meeting is in accordance with executive orders from the governor to effect social distancing and mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 213-338-8477 and enter meeting ID pound 937-9650-7319. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watch CTN. Ms. Thatcher, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Quijano.
Here.
Commissioner Rockland.
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Epperson.
Here.
Commissioner Beeson. Commissioner Fortner.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Thatcher. Let's see, let's move on to C, approval of agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
No, there are not. Commissioner Hall, I'll cover elections under the staff report.
Fair enough. Okay, hearing and seeing no objection, the agenda is approved as presented. Move on to item D, audience participation. This is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes about an issue that is not listed as a public hearing on this agenda. To comment on such other preservation matters, please call 213-338-8477 and enter meeting ID pound 937-9650-7319. This information is also displayed on the meeting agenda and video feed. City staff will select callers that have, quote, raised their hand, end quote, one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. In order to electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds so that we may hear you clearly. Please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Moving on to item E, approval of minutes of August 13 and September 10, 2020. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the minutes? So we're looking over the minutes now. A couple commissioners still reviewing the minutes. Everyone okay with them? As
Okay.
okay. So all those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say yes. All those opposed, please say no. So, sorry, I should have given a pause there. In favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion carries. So now we'll move to hearings, F1. 113 West Washington Street. Ms. Thatcher, will you please give the staff report?
Certainly. All right. 113 West Washington is a two-story commercial vernacular building. It was built around 1920 and was first occupied by Vogel's blacksmith shop. Front facade and about 4 feet turning the corner on the alley are dark brown brick, as you can see in this photo. The upper stories have 1/1 windows with flat arches in a modern 1920s style and stone lintels. The steel storefront appears to be original with a recessed center entry and full-width transom. The alley wall that we'll be talking about today is yellow brick with only one second floor window and one small infilled first floor window. There's a one-story wing behind that, and then a more modern garage that's one story behind that. Vogel's locksmiths occupied the building for over 100 years. Site's on the south side of West Washington, west of the mid-block alley. The applicant is seeking HDC approval to install a triptych mural on the alley side of the building, each consisting of 4 aluminum composite panels attached to a series of vertical steel studs mounted in mortar joints with horizontal steel crossbars. The mural area is 20 feet tall by 25 feet wide, and there are no openings or obstructions that it would impact on the yellow brick wall. So let me send you through some photos here. That's the wall that we're talking about. Would be located a couple feet off of the ground. There seems to be some sort of a parged bit here by the water table. A couple feet away from the windows, the brown brick and the eave. This is if you walk back in the alley, this is the modern garage section of the building. I don't know when this was built, but it was after the period of significance for sure. This is a one-story wing that's behind the yellow brick wall that we're going to be talking about. And this is presumed to be original to the building. It shows up on Sanborn maps and has some original steel windows and a paneled door. And this is just another view of the wall that we're talking about. It's a very visible alley. It's a lovely place for a mural. It should get a lot of attention from passersby. And the proposal is for 3 vertical panels. You can see it here on the right, about 8 feet wide by 20 feet tall in each of the panels. They have a little bit of space in between the 3 panels. You can see roughly where they'll be attached to the building. And here's a drawing showing how they will be offset from the very few features that this wall even has. There's a diagram showing the mounting, how these vertical steel studs, it says as mortar joints allow, but that would need to be in mortar joints. And then there are horizontal steel studs attached to those to which the aluminum panels are mounted. The mortar joints are in good shape in this building, which is important. The bricks are also in good shape. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's much better than many downtown non-primary walls. The mural will be easily removable and leave the integrity of the building unimpaired. If lettering is taller than 4 inches on the mural anywhere, it becomes a sign, and then it also falls under the sign regulations. That's not shown. But again, it's a mural, and what's shown in the application is not necessarily what they need to choose to paint onto the mural. Really, the addition of this mural shouldn't negatively impact the neighborhood or the historic district and should contribute positively to the multi-purpose public alley. As a public alley, it's a pretty clean one. It is a place to store trash cans and recycling and you know, you see people hanging out there smoking, and there's probably some restaurant waste back there that doesn't smell too great. But comparatively speaking, it's a lot nicer than some of the private alleys around in the downtown. And people do use it as a cut through on walking in on bikes. So let me go through the Secretary of the Interior standards that best apply. That would be number 2, the historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials or alteration of features, spaces, and spatial relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. Number 9 says that new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. From the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for building site, recommended is designing new exterior additions to historic buildings, which is compatible with the historic character of the site and which preserve the historic relationship between a building or buildings, landscape features, and open space. Not recommended is introducing new construction that's visually incompatible, or removing or radically changing buildings and their features, which are important in defining the overall historic character of the building. Really, these are flat panels on an alley wall. The work is completely reversible. I don't see any issues with those guidelines. From the guidelines for masonry, recommended is identifying, retaining, and preserving masonry features that are important in defining the overall historic character of the building, such as walls, brackets, railings, cornices, window, architraves, door pediments, steps, columns, and details such as tooling and bonding, patterns, coating, and color. And I threw in the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for signs. This is not a sign at this point, but it's mounted in a way similar to many signs. And it says that attaching signage through masonry joints, not masonry units, or through materials that can be easily repaired, such as wood, when the signage is removed. So this is in here mostly for the attaching the panels through the masonry joints. Staff believes that this mural is generally compatible in exterior design, massing, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the site and the surrounding area, and meets the Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines and the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Thatcher. Commissioners Epperson and Rockland were on the review committee. Will you please give us your report and recommendation?
Go for it, Anna.
I think this one is fairly straightforward. I agree with Ms. Thatcher's report. As you can see from the photos, it's a fairly, there's only the 2 windows toward the rear of the building. The mural is placed set back from the red brick as it turns the corner. So it's completely within the facade that is solely brick. She mentioned the alley that, there's those refuse bins lined up along the other side. I think this mural will actually benefit the alley in that particular portion of the block along West Washington. So I think it's appropriate, and I support this.
I also agree with what I heard in the staff report and with Commissioner Epperson. I will just add that the yellow brick that we're talking about here is certainly of a different character than the nice brick that's on the front of the building that turns the corner. It's definitely like secondary brick, and there's yellow brick in the building that's across the alley from it. I think it used to say Kresge on that building. I don't know what we call that building, but that building, it's on the corner. That brick also is quite nice, like the face brick on the Vogel building, the front elevation brick on the Vogel building. But this yellow brick, maybe it's just because it was in the alley or it was always just sort of a secondary quality, but it's in good condition. In terms of it's not spalling or falling apart, and probably doesn't need to be tuck pointed even, but the brick itself is stained heavily, as you could see in the photos. Maybe that's from just never being cleaned, or it's the trucks idling there in the alley, or who knows. But anyway, I believe that the mural will it'll be a beneficial to that facade of that building. Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant please unmute your microphone, turn on your video if possible, and provide your name and address for the record.
Hi all. I'm Lisa Sove, 1866 Ferdinand K Circle. Part of the application. I just want to address, I guess, two things, if it's okay. One, which was that Jill brought up the as mortar joints allow. That note is just in terms of if there's a not quality mortar joint at the 24 inches on center, that we would stagger them to attach into mortar joints that are more structurally stable. So yes, in terms of installation in mortar joints only. And yeah, we'd appreciate your support to kind of improve this alley, and in conversations with the DDA, working towards making more usable space within downtown by improving alleys. Here for any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any other questions for the applicant? I'd now like to open the public hearing for this item. This is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes about this application at 113 West Washington Street. Public comment may be made by calling 213-338-8477 and entering meeting ID pound 937-9650-7319. And in order to electronically raise your hand after dialing into the meeting, please press *9 on your phone. Kristen, do we have any callers?
No callers have indicated.
Callers, all right. Commissioners, do we have any additional questions? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing portion of this application. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this application? Commissioner Quijano.
Thank you. I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 113 West Washington Street, a contributing property in the Main Street Historic District, to install a removable 3-part mural on the east facade of the building through mortar joints, not masonry units. As proposed, the work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the rest of the building and the surrounding area, and meets the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular standards 2 and 10, and the guidelines for building site and masonry, and the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines for signs.
Support.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Quijano and seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'm seeing Commissioner Rockland raising his hand.
I think that this application meets the standards, and I think it's going to be, like I said before, beneficial to this alleyway. I think when people see it, they're going to either explicitly or implicitly see that this mural is respecting its historic location by the design of it being offset by any possible character defining features. So that's how I feel.
Thank you for sharing. Any other commissioners with anything else to say for the discussion period? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yeah.
All opposed, please say no. The motion carries. Your applicant has been approved, and you will receive a written notice from staff. Please note that you must apply for any required building permits from the city before beginning your project. Okay. We'll now move on to item F2 at 903 West Liberty Street. Ms. Thatcher, will you please give the staff report?
Okay. 903 West Liberty is a 2.5-story. It's the 1914 Whitehammer home. It features a pedimented gable facing north, east, and west, and triple windows in the front gable facing Liberty, which you can see here. On the northeast corner is a red brick chimney, and the half-width front porch is partially inset with round columns supported by a pedimented gable roof. 1/1 windows are regularly spaced, and the foundation is rusticated block. There's also a contributing single-car garage with 3/1 windows and double-leaf doors. The house is currently a duplex. The house next door at 907, which you can sort of see a little bit in this picture, was originally a small Greek revival, but now has several additions, and it was moved from the corner, this site, to allow this house at 903 to be constructed, which is kind of interesting. It's on the corner of West Liberty Street and South 7th Street. And the applicant is seeking approval to pave the gravel driveway and parking area with asphalt. This is an after-the-fact approval, which I'll explain better in a minute, but first we're going to look at some before photos. This is courtesy of Google Street View. You can see pretty well. Driveway going in, this is off of 7th Street, and there's a very well-established parking area that goes to about the back of the garage, and is in sort of the same plane as the side of the house. The applicants have stated that they were having a lot of problems with gravel washouts, and that this was a hazard for pedestrians and bikers and just passersby. And these photos that were in the application show that. It's also just kind of a big mess. Here's another one. After this application was received, I did correspond with somebody in the Old West Side who said, oh yeah, that application, that is indeed a hazard to pedestrians to have all that gravel there on the sidewalk, which was useful to know. I said that this is a well-established parking area. It's not a historic parking area, but there aren't, many historic parking areas. But it's been here for a while. This is an aerial from 1993. This is the first aerial that's really clear enough for it to show up on. It's not to say that it's not 20 years older than that. I just don't know. But here you can pretty clearly see the little garage and then the parking area alongside. There used to be some trees between the parking and the sidewalk, but those have been removed. And then 2005 is the best photograph, earliest photograph that I could see, where you could actually see cars there using this area. There's a white one here, there's a brown one here in front of it. And the garage goes to about here. So you can see that it's still roughly the same size, and more modern aerials I'll show it even more clearly. The applicant provided this drawing showing the extent of the pavement. There is a planting strip between the pavement and the garage, which is very appropriate. And the extent of the asphalt does not exceed what was there previously in gravel. And here's what it looks like today. I had a question from a commissioner about asphalt versus concrete. I think that concrete is definitely a more expensive material and lasts longer, but really the guidelines don't make any, they don't distinguish between concrete and asphalt. And really in my mind, I kind of think of them the same way. I encourage people to use concrete, but this is a much larger area. And again, the work was already done. So that's not a recommendation that I'm able to make at this point, but still, I really don't think that asphalt is a vastly superior historic material because it's sort of a non-historic feature anyway. It's sort of like allowing a modern garage to be sided with vinyl instead of with wood because it's a modern structure. Let's see. So the work, the paving work, and I'll just go through a couple more. I think I've only got one or two more photos. Oh, this is from the neighbors, the blue house down the hill on 7th going south. From here, you can't see it because there's a little slope, and it's just a parking area, just like it's always been. I think that's it for these, yeah. All right, so I got a call from somebody who lives in the Old West Side who asked if this project had been approved or not, because the asphalt was being put down on a Saturday, August 22. The contractor wasn't aware that HCC application was required. The homeowners have received previous HCC staff approvals for other work. They did call the city building department when the contractor moved the work up from a date that had been scheduled a couple weeks later, and asked if he could do it that weekend. The homeowners did call the city on a Thursday and left a message and did not hear back from the building permit desk on Friday, and then went ahead with the work on Saturday. I already said that the extent of the paving matches the former. Let me go through the standards and guidelines. Standard 1 says the property will be used as it was historically or be given a new use that requires minimal change to its distinctive materials, features, spaces, and spatial relationships. 2 says that the historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials or alteration of features, spaces, and spatial relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. And new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property will be unimpaired. And this is actually much more reversible than a lot of the work that we see. From the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for district or neighborhood setting, not recommended is destroying streetscapes and landscape features by widening existing streets, changing paving material, or introducing inappropriately located new streets or parking lot. Again, I really don't think that this is inappropriate because it's been located here for decades. From building site, it's recommended to retain the historic relationship between buildings, landscape features, and open space, which this does. Identifying, retaining, preserving buildings and their features, as well as features of the site that are important in defining its overall historic character. This has no different impact on the historic structures than it did before it was paved in asphalt. From the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for paved areas, it's appropriate to install new parking areas which are compatible with the scale, proportion of yard area, and characteristics of the historic district behind buildings. These shall also be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So staff does recommend approval of the application. The proposed work is generally compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the site's buildings and the surrounding neighborhood, and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for paved areas and landscape features, and the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, in particular standards 1, 2, and 10, and the guidelines for building site. The after the fact approval information is in the staff report, should you need to refer to it, but I do recommend approval of this application. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners Epperson and Rockland were on the review committee. Will you please give us your report and recommendation?
Sure. Well, I agree with what I heard in the staff report. I think that really the photographs kind of tell the story, like what that's the story is what, what Jill showed you in the photographs. That really explains it. The only thing I'll add is that there is a pretty decent rear yard behind the garage that I don't know if it's a deep lot or if just the garage is in a certain position on the lot that makes it feel deep, but there's plenty of space behind the garage too it's just a lawn right now, but I think that's it.
Thanks, Commissioner Rockland.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Ms. Thatcher's report and Commissioner Rockland. It is pretty straightforward. I think the only other thing to add is that one, I guess the edge of the parking lot closest to the street it seems a little bit close, maybe just on the outside of not quite in line with the edge of the house. It's closer to the road than maybe the edge of the house, so it seems a little bit close. If we're reviewing this, I guess my only question would be if there would be any requirements for landscaping or whatnot, but it does appropriately fit, 2 cars on one side and 2 cars over near the garage. So I think it's, as far as scale with the size of the lot, I think that's that's appropriate. Just the front yard setbacks were some of my concerns. I think generally, though, I support the application. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Would the applicant please unmute your microphone, turn on your video if possible, and provide your name and address for the record? Do you have anything to add to the staff report or review committee report?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi.
For joining us.
My name's Steve Leduc, 903 West Liberty. I think, like I think the last two people said, it is pretty straightforward to me. I think Jill did a good job. I mean, Jill and I have gone back and forth plenty via email. I think she did a good job explaining it. I don't really have a ton to add other than the fact that, you know, my wife and I are just trying to improve our house and trying to go through the proper channels and the proper process. But it was just a combination of not hearing back from the city, and then the Ann Arbor Asphalt and Concrete, the company that we used that we thought was reputable, just wasn't aware of some changed things with the city. And it was just a perfect storm.
All right, thanks, Steve. Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant? I'm not seeing any. I'd now like to open the public hearing for this item. Is there this is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes about this application at 903 West Liberty Street. I'm not going to read the phone number again, as fun as that is. Do we have any callers, Kristen?
No callers have indicated.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any additional questions? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing portion of the application. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this application? Kathy, please.
Okay. I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 903 West Liberty Street, a contributing property in the Old West Side Historic District, for after-the-fact pavement of the driveway and parking spaces as proposed. The work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the surrounding resources, and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District guidelines for paved areas and landscape features, and the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, in particular standards 1, 2, and 10, and the guidelines for building site.
I gotta say second. Support.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Fortner and seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Rockland, please. Mute.
Okay, my mute button was stuck. Well, I think that the asphalt is clearly an improvement to the, the crushed stone that was obviously a mess and probably very difficult to maintain, bad for the pedestrians walking by, all those issues. I think it just gives me pause. I think that's what the application is about. So I think I'm going to support the application. The whole thing kind of gives me pause because of what Commissioner Epperson brought up about, parking in the front open space. But I think if you read through the staff report and listen to the staff report, it's kind of an existing condition that would be grandfathered in this case. So, I have the pause there. And I guess the other two things that kind of give me pause here is one is just what's been brought up already about the lack of landscaping that would be nice to kind of pretty up the side of where the cars are parking in the front open space. And two is just still an open question about drainage on all of that impervious surface. And we're not going to get crushed stone on the sidewalk, but if you look at this, how everything's sloping, it does drain very nicely onto the sidewalk. And what sort of silt or oil from cars, just other things that we'll get on the sidewalk. But I don't know if either of those things are really in our purview.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know if those are in our purview, but I would be concerned about ice coming down like in the winter, freezing there
Mhm.
for sure. But that's not something that I think we're voting on here. Is there? But good points nonetheless. Any other commissioners with comments or thoughts?
I just, oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just, again, voicing a common comment that it is quite an expansive parking surface or paved surface, but it's not going beyond the existing boundaries. So there really isn't a change there. I guess if there had been a change, it'd be a different discussion. So just to make that point.
Good point.
I will add, I guess, one thing, just maybe slightly in favor, that because there is such a slope of the drive down to the sidewalk area, when you're walking by, it's relatively at eye level. So you're not, maybe it's a little bit lower, but you are seeing the pavement, but it's not, I think you're seeing the structure probably more often in the open space, a little bit more in the other houses in the area. Of course, the black of the asphalt and the large paving area is noticeable, but I don't think it's, as we've all stated, it is well within the area that was established, that was there. So it hasn't gone outside the bounds of the existing paved area or impervious area.
That's a good point. Any other discussion items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yeah,
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion carries. Your application has been approved. You'll receive written notice from staff. Please note that you must apply for required permits from the city before beginning your project. Okay, moving on. Thanks, Steve. Hearing F3, we'll now move on to F3 at 519 South First Street. Ms. Thatcher, will you please give the staff report?
All right, 519 South First Street is in the Old West Side Historic District. This is the 1888 John Herman house, which features corner returns and a shallow front gable and a partial width front porch. The house was originally constructed as a two-story plus a single-story wing. What you see here on the right used to be the single-story wing, and a single-story room off the rear. At some point, a second floor was added to the wing, and about 15 years ago, a two-story addition was put on the back of the house. The windows have been replaced in vinyl, and the house is clad in vinyl siding. The site is located on the east side of South First between West Jeff and West Madison. And the applicant is seeking after-the-fact HDC approval to do the following work on the rear-facing one-story addition. Move a door, remove 3 windows, and install 5 new windows. All right, here's the back of the house. What I just described as the application might be a little bit off because this window is staying. It's not actually being replaced. That's one that was there, and it's just staying there. It's a vinyl window. This is what the back of the house looks like right now. This door used to be slid over here. There were windows on either side of it. I'll show you a drawing in just a sec. This came in through the building department as a complaint by a neighbor for doing work without permits. The permit was stopped, and then it had to back up and go to the Historic District Commission before I can sign off on the building permit for this work. Let's see. A little bit of this single-story wing is original. It's a little piece of it, maybe to about where the door is now. The interior of the wall, nothing on the exterior. The roof has been reframed, and obviously the siding's all non-original, and the windows and door were non-original. It used to extend a little bit farther over. I think that was truncated, and then this 2-story addition was built like 15 years ago, or maybe, I can't remember how long ago the owner said, maybe 20. And this one-story bit was extended over flush with this south-facing wall of the house. Here's a view from the backyard. So no character defining features were impacted by this work. No historic windows or doors are affected. It's unknown whether any of the openings themselves were original. These are the casement windows that are proposed to be used as replacements for a couple of windows here that I'll show you. Here's the existing. This is the window that you just saw that's still there. Here's where the door was, and then we've got a couple of windows in between. The proposal is to move the door. This is shown as a new casement window. It's no longer, but to install a sort of a fixed picture window with the Geldwin casements on either side with the relocated door here. Let me go back up to a couple of these floor plans. Here's the existing deck. Remove this window and remove this window and remove this door and move the door over. And here's where the new picture window with the flanking casements on either side are. It was one of those difficult kitchens with too many openings and too many doors and too many windows. And this kind of makes the whole thing more workable for the homeowners. Let me see if I have anything else here. There's information in the packet on the windows that they propose to use. From the Secretary of Interior standards, I already read number 2 to you. Number 5 says distinctive materials, features, finishes, and construction techniques are examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property will be preserved. Really, I see no loss of examples of craftsmanship that characterize the property because any historic materials were inside of this structure and not visible. I've also read number 9 and number 10 to you already. From the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for windows, recommended is designing and installing additional windows on rear or non-character defining elevations if required by the new use. New window openings may also be cut into party walls. Such design shall be compatible with the overall design of the building, but not duplicate the fenestration pattern and detailing of a character defining elevation, which this does not do that. It's not recommended to cut new entrances on a primary elevation, but this is not a primary elevation. It's not recommended to introduce new construction that's visually incompatible in terms of size, scale, design, materials, color, and texture, which destroys historic relationships on the site. Because the windows face the backyard and are in a section of the house that has little, if any, historic integrity, staff does recommend approval of the application. The proposed work is compatible in design and meets the Secretary of Interior's standards and guidelines and the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners Epperson and Rockland were on the review committee. Will you please give us your report and recommendation?
Yeah, so I think I agree with Ms. Thatcher's report again. There's really no character defining features on this facade. As she stated, the windows all along the back of the house, sort of from one story portion, so, on the driveway side, all the way around on that 2-story portion, almost toward the front, are all vinyl. It's really hard to tell if there was any sort of, original, if those openings were original that were removed. Like she said, this is on the rear of the rear facade of the house. It faces the backyard. It's not visible from the street. I don't think there were any character defining features here. So I support this application.
Commissioner Rockland?
I'm in agreement with everything I've heard. I will only reconfirm that you can't see this facade from the street. Nothing more to add.
Thank you, both commissioners. Would the applicant please unmute your microphone, turn on your video if possible, and provide your name and address as a record? Do you have anything?
My name is Lonnie Heilman. My address is 1555.
Wait. Oh, sir.
And I am the general contractor, applicant, not the homeowner.
Okay, great. And do we have someone else on the line here?
Oh, I'm the homeowner, Carolyn Berg. I don't know if you can see me.
Can't see you, but we see your
Their
name.
video. Can you see me now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm the homeowner, and I guess simply I wanted to renovate my kitchen for many years. I've never had a dishwasher, and the space was hard to work in, so I would be very happy to have this approved so we could do that for our family.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant? I'm not seeing any. I'd now like to open the public hearing for this item. This is an opportunity for persons to speak for up to 3 minutes about this application at 519 South First Street. Kristen, do we have any public callers?
No callers have indicated.
Okay, no callers. Again, commissioners, do we have any additional questions? Okay, Ms. Thatcher.
Commissioners, I'd just like to add that there were 3 letters of support received for this application, and those are in the electronic packet. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I will now close the public hearing portion of this application. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this application? All right. Maybe I can. Hold on.
I can do it, Evan.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Rockland. I didn't have it right in front of me. Thank you.
I don't either. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay. I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 519 South First Street, a contributing property in the Old West Side Historic District, to move a rear door, remove 3 windows, and install 5 new windows. Is it 4 or 5?
3.
It's 3.
It's 3?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Let's go with install 3 new windows as proposed. The work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the surrounding resources and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District guidelines for windows and the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, in particular, standards 2, 5, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for windows, doors, and building site.
Support.
Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Rockland and a second by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? Looking around, I am not seeing. Okay, Commissioner Rockland, here we go. Yep.
I'll just say that I think this project meets the standards as discussed.
I would agree with that. Any other commissioners? Not seeing any. We're gonna move to a vote. All right. Let's see. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Okay. All those opposed, please say no. The motion carries. Your application has been approved. You'll receive a written notice from staff. Please note that you must apply for any required permits from the city before beginning your project.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. That closes the hearings. We'll move to G, unfinished business. I'm seeing none. Ms. Thatcher, none. Okay. Now we'll move to H, new business. We will now have a 15-minute informational presentation about the DTE gas main renewal program and its implications for the applications for work within the Old West Side Historic District. With us are Molly and Daniel and Rijawana from DTE, plus additional DTE representatives standing by in case of questions. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
This is Molly Lumpert-Coy, Governmental Affairs Representative for Washtenaw, Monroe, and Lenawee. And with me here this evening, I have Dan Sands, DTE Gas Main Renewal Implementation Manager, and Brandon Francis, who is our Capital Project Manager. And so we appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening and to provide you with a little update on this project. It's been ongoing in the city of Ann Arbor. We're now into our third year. We've been averaging about 5 to 10 miles a year of gas main renewal, and we anticipate being in the Ann Arbor Historic District here this first quarter of next year. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan, and he's going to walk you through a short PowerPoint presentation. And we'd like to thank Jill as well for helping us get that up and available to you.
Did we lose Dan? Kristen, I don't see him. He was here a minute ago.
Not seeing Dan.
I don't see him as an attendee, so we'll.
Okay, let's give him a minute. He was in the queue a second ago, and I think you promoted him, and he got kicked out or something.
Mhm.
If he does not join, I can speak for him.
Okay.
All right, we don't want to hold up the project here.
Okay, let me get the screen going for you, and
He's joining us.
Kristen will keep an eye.
Here he is.
There he is. All right.
Here's Dan.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here.
Dan,
Sorry, folks.
hi.
I accidentally killed my connection here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Molly, I missed the last little bit of what you said, so I apologize if I'm repeating a little bit. On behalf of DTE Gas here, thank you for hearing our presentation. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to go fairly quickly here to leave us a little bit of time at the end of the presentation to ask any particular questions. DTE Gas has a gas main renewal program in Ann Arbor already going on. And this next year in 2021, we plan to renew some of the mains that are in the streets and the area of this historic district. Next slide, please. Or do I have it? That's your head. Okay. Jill, is that you controlling the slides?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. So again, I'm going to breeze through this fairly quickly. Again, stop me if you have any questions. The gas renewal program is going on all over our service area in all of Michigan. And it's a very large investment by DTE into our community. Generally speaking, we are getting rid of our cast iron pipelines that are very old and at the end, nearing the end of service life, and reinstalling the service connections, which also has to do with the meters that are often inside people's homes. We relocate them on the outside of the homes. Obvious benefits, the new and improved materials minimize leak risk of gas leaks. The new meters enable remote meter shutoff response to gas leaks, minimize intrusive meter reads, and of course, we don't need to enter the home nearly as much for readings or inspections. Next slide, please. Also, in this current situation with the COVID-19 virus amongst us, rest assured we're committed to doing what's right. When you see or interact with our crews, know that they will be following medically recommended safety protocols. Again, this is all over DTE, both electric and gas for that matter. Daily health screenings, social distancing, wearing face masks and gloves. And as the case is with this program, if we need to enter your home, we will take additional precautions, including wearing safety glasses, masks, and nitrile gloves. Of course, this comment would be for everyone. Keep safe distance, social distance, at least 6 feet from our crews, and let us know if anyone in the home would have been ill. Next slide, please. Now we're coming to the meat and potatoes of what we wanted to present for your commission tonight. This map right here shows in the red outline of the historic district, and in blue shows the part of our gas main renewal program that intersects with your historical zone. So the several blocks there that you see in hatched, those homes are the ones that we'd like to talk to you about tonight. Next slide, please. All right. No problem. So the bottom line here is 11,000 feet of new gas main, 415 service lines in the Ann Arbor area. And what that means is approximately 150 meters will need to be moved out of these residents' homes onto the sides or backs of the homes themselves. As with our normal process, all the property would be restored within 30 days. Next slide, please. Methods of communication. So this is our normal process. So we always provide notifications to the customers that we're coming and what we're doing. Notification through mail, then a restoration reminder, door hangers. So we have a little card that we actually hang on the door to make sure that our residents are aware that we're coming. We have a nextdoor.com app, and then we also have a website that you can go on, and that's updated monthly with the program's progress. Next slide, please. Here's a copy of our letter. Obviously, this will be particularly addressed to whatever customer that would come in. Just kind of talks about what to expect, the different phases, etc. Next slide, please. Here's a couple copies of the door hangers that we use when we're coming. The first one on the left would be our indication of making an appointment with whatever customer it is. The fitter is called, the person that's actually physically doing the work for DTE would make a particular appointment with that resident and make sure that we coordinate that at their convenience. Next slide, please. Generally speaking, we have a communication cadence. This particular work that we're talking about would take place starting winter of 2021. So, several months from now, obviously. More than 30 days before, we'll be doing the mailers. A couple weeks before, we have emails. The day of construction will be scheduled out in the field, like we showed you with the door hanger. We'd have a physical face-to-face arrangement, and then after that, we'll also communicate about restoration and whatnot. Next slide, please. We have a direct line directly to the program. Obviously, you can always call the 800 DTE numbers, and they will get in contact with. But we encourage everyone for this program to contact us direct, 313-270-9240. That goes right in normal working hours, right into our program office, which is over on Schaefer Highway in Detroit. And then, of course, another link to our gas renewal website. I think that's the last slide, is it not? Okay. Jill, if you could you go back to the map? Perfect. So the purpose of giving this presentation tonight is we wanted to introduce our program to the Historical Commission. Obviously, as we move through this area, many of these homes, it's our hope that it's not a big deal to simply move the meter out of the basement into the backyard, onto the back of the house. That's our expectation. I think the lion's share of the work is going to be done like that. At this point, we have not yet gone and interacted directly with each individual home. We're hoping to do that here shortly through the fall. And there's a possibility that some of these homes, the arrangement of the inside gas meter will be such that we won't be able to put it on the back of the house. Some of these may be on the side of the house possibly, or other spots, right? So again, the point of the program is safety first. We want to make sure that we get all the gas infrastructure upgraded until modern standards, and this is part of it. But we also want to be good neighbors and respect you guys' process here. We want to abide by what the Historical Commission needs us to do, and so therefore we've already started talking with Jill about this, and at this point we just want to make sure all of you commissioners are aware of the process to move through here, right? This is a pretty big swath of the historical district right here, and it's going to impact a lot of the homes. So again, we just want to be in front of it and certainly not surprise anybody when you may or may not hear of meters moving onto the exterior of houses.
And this is Molly. I just wanted to share, if I could, that we have participated and done gas main renewals in other historic districts such as Detroit, and these have gone very smoothly and successfully. We've also reached out to the city manager. Annually, we meet with the DPW and engineering departments at the city of Ann Arbor. We hope to meet with the neighborhood association and with the two council members that are over this district as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. At this point, are there any questions about anything in general, what the point of the program is, or maybe some of the details of how we expect to move through this sequence?
Some random questions. So you had said that the whole program is statewide and it's $3.5 billion. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And about how many households is that?
Oh man, I think our something more than like 1.5 million altogether. Maybe not quite that much, but it's very large.
Right, and we want to share this is something that we're doing, that we've been requested to do of our state regulator, the Michigan Public Service Commission, and so we're following through, and it's a system.
Oh, her audio dropped.
Sorry, Molly, the last little bit of your comments got lost.
Yeah.
Oh, forgive me. I just wanted to share that it's a project that our Public Service Commission has asked DTE to perform across the state of Michigan. And it is one that's been very successful so far within the city of Ann Arbor.
Right.
All right. Just
any other questions?
Overarchingly interested. Go ahead, Jill.
So, commissioners, I just want to very briefly go over this with you. So, if DTE is moving out 217 meters in the Old West Side, if those meters are going on the back of the house or out of sight from the right-of-way, there'll be a staff approval, regular old process. If they're not out of sight, or they're not on the back of the house, or they have to be near the front of the house. We've been through this before once or twice on other buildings with meters that need to be relocated and are visible. Those would be commission applications. I'm working with these folks to get maybe the first batch or a first block or something of applications in so that we can go through them. And I want to see, I want to work with the officers at some point to figure out if there's anything that I can staff approve beyond what I can right now. Because I don't know if half of these might have to go to the commission. I don't know if 10 of them might have to go to the commission. I don't know if 200 might have to. So we are aware of this, and the DTE folks are very much on top of it, which I totally appreciate, because we'll have a lot less mopping up work to do because they're approaching it head on as let's get the HDC applications in first, and they've been very responsive about trying to figure out what our requirements are and working with me on that, and I will continue to do that. So there might be some pretty big ramifications of this for you guys.
Jill, how will, okay, so it's like front of the house, that's an immediate red flag, obviously. Back of the house, backyard, you can't see it from the street at all, green light. Sneaking around the side of the house, it starts to be, closer to the red light territory. How will, who's going to be in charge of flagging the ones that are not so obvious to let you know, here's what we need to do?
Yeah, I'll be going through all of them.
Mm.
Just like I do. I do a lot of mechanical equipment applications. Mm-hmm. That's what most of the staff approvals report is. It's meters and air conditioning units and, mini splits and
okay.
venting.
So you'll make the call.
So I'll make the call.
Yeah.
And at some point I'll drag the officers in to help me make the call. If we see a pattern, or if I've got a stack of 10 of them and we can have a Zoom meeting and go through them quickly. Obviously I can't meet with 3 of you and have a decision made, but you can give me better input on which ones, if there are any that you feel could be staff approved, and then at the next meeting, we can maybe take care of that all at once. Until I see them, I won't really know for sure, how to tell you how many this might be that are in that gray area. But there are going to be some, just because of the way things are situated in the basement. It's not going to make any sense to make people rearrange their entire basement for a meter if there's some better way to do it that maybe isn't on exactly the back of the house. And I've already warned, I've warned the DTE folks that the front of the building is probably going to be a non-starter. But that's just design guideline stuff.
Yeah. If homes have, if homes already have external meters, are they exempt from this project, or is there like an upgrade that has to happen on some of those already existing outside meters?
I'll answer that. Most of the exterior meters that are already on the side of the house or back of the house, exterior of the house, they'll be reconnected into the new grid. If they are old and need to be repaired, we'll have a process to just replace them in kind. We'll put them right back where they come from. Same location.
Can they remain inside?
No, nope. Part of the new safety requirements from the federal government, but definitely from the MPSC, requires us, as we move through these grids, to move the meters outside of the homes.
Also, if these are Historic District Commission approvals, not staff approvals, the homeowner will have to sign off on the application. I believe that one of you probably have to have your meter moved, Commissioner Hall, because I thought I saw a dot on your property on that map. Commissioner Rockland, I didn't get a chance to look at yours.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
You'll experience it firsthand.
Yeah, well, mine's in the front, but it's behind some bushes. So you can always disguise it if necessary. Mine's a new meter, though.
All right. Well, again, we just wanted to introduce ourselves to the Historical Commission here, make sure all of you knew what we were planning on doing here, give a little bit of background as to why we're doing what we're doing, and basically give you the contact information. If you do have any questions, feel free to call that 313 number. And Jill, thank you for giving us some time here to introduce the program, and we'll look forward to moving through this. Again, our desire at DTE is to be good neighbors, and to ultimately make sure that this system that we have in this area, as well as all of Ann Arbor and everywhere, is the safest system that our customers deserve. So with that, if no one else has any other comments or questions, I guess we'll bow out.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all for
very
coming.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll now move to I on the agenda, reports from commissioners. Would any commissioners like to share something with the commission? Not seeing anything, so we're going to go to J1, assignments. Review committee will be on Monday, November 9th, 2020 at noon for the November 12th, 2020 regular meeting. Do I have any volunteers?
I can make that time.
Okay, Commissioner Beeson will be one, and Commissioner Rockland, are you saying yes, or are you just supporting?
I was cheerleading for Commissioner Beeson.
Okay, I can see that.
It'll snow. I have no doubt it'll snow. It did last year in November.
It did.
We had like a foot, and I remember doing that visit
Don't
with Jill.
say that.
It was
Yeah.
terrible.
Please don't say
Anyway.
Snow is coming.
It's coming. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
I can do.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson. So thank you, Commissioner Beeson and Commissioner Epperson. So we will.
Commissioners, just one thing, I'd like to apologize for this month's confusion and chaos that I caused at the review committee by messing up the time. So I just wanted to show you that I now have this sign that I'm putting on my wall right over my computer that says when review committee is and who's on it. So I won't surprise anyone at the last minute. So thank you all for your flexibility. I do appreciate it.
After last meeting, I was kind of confused afterwards anyway, but I was like, oh, whatever. I should have asked for clarification because I think that probably would have helped.
Okay. So we will now move to K1 on the agenda, reports from staff. The September 2020 HDC staff activities report is attached. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Thatcher? Commissioner Quijano, you're signaling something?
It's just that I do not have any questions. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
There we go. All right. Okay, I'm not seeing any action there. So, Ms. Thatcher, would you like to speak about the annual HDC elections?
Yes, that's a garbage disposal running in the background. Sorry. So we need a nominating committee for elections next month. It's that time of year again. Thank you to Commissioner Hall for reminding me of that.
I volunteer for that.
All right. Thank you, Bob. We depend on you.
Yes.
Would anyone else like to join Bob on the nominating committee? It just means that you'll come back next month with a slate of 3 candidates for the 3 elected positions.
I have a question now. Does anybody's term expires on the officers? If not, then we can renominate the ones that are there.
You should probably ask them if they'd like to do that.
No, if nominated, if they will not serve, then we won't elect them.
You might want to have a backup chair in mind.
Mhm.
Reservations have been expressed about the hockey schedule.
Yeah, it should be someone who's here more than I am. I feel strongly about that.
Okay.
You have lots of good candidates on the commission.
Okay. Sounds good. Well,
Kevin, are you stepping down?
I'm happy to do it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it or I won't do it. I'm just saying I miss a lot, especially during the winter months. And I feel like it should be someone that's more consistent. If the commission feels otherwise, it's fine. But I want to give the opportunity to someone else. We have lots of good commissioners here.
Well, they will have their opportunity, Evan.
Well, I know.
When you're not there, the vice chair takes over, and if the vice chair we have a system in place for this.
Exactly, David.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
We have a system, and
And it is fun to watch the system work.
that's right.
Yeah.
And the system does work.
Well, Bob's going to come up with his recommendations for his committee.
Okay. Well, since I didn't have a volunteer for the committee, what I recommend now, well, we're on the air, aren't we? I'll take care of it.
Off the air.
Off the air.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move now to L, concerns of commissioners. Are there any concerns? Not seeing any. We'll now go to agenda item M1, communications. The only communications were the letters of support mentioned earlier. Okay, so I'll move to adjournment. This concludes the October 8th, 2020 Ann Arbor Historic District Commission meeting. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.